Hey guys, welcome to another Force Will deck Spotlight with Matt. Today I got a pretty spicy brew. This is a deck that topped out of Italy and we just never got around to recording it, and I worked with Jeremy. He has a Versus video, so if you want to see this deck in action, make sure you look in the description below. I'll have a link to the game that he did. And this is the green Valentina 2.0 list, so you'll see that there's not a lot of regalia. In fact, there's only the 4 Demon Swords, 3 Deathscythes, and 2 Marybells, and that's it, which for your traditional Valentina lists, that's very, very light. You know, Valentina herself can tutor up the regalia. So, as you can see, we have a little bit of a different package that's going on here. So, I'm going to talk about a ruler, then talk about the stone base, and then go into the creatures and the spells and what really makes this a unique take on Valentina that I think you guys should really try out when you get the chance at your locals. So up first we have Valentina 2.0, or Valentina Plotting Lord of the Seas. So she kind of got jealous. Dark Alice kind of turned all the other rulers into shadows, so she embodies the power of the other 7 kings. What's really unique about her is that you can, with 1 water and 1 of any other attribute, or will, you can search your deck for any regalia. What I love about this is if you're missing the Demon Sword for the God Art reduction, or if you're missing the Marybell for protection, you can easily just tutor your deck for it. So just from a design standpoint, you know, this should have been the red flag in the distance saying, you know, we don't need to jam-pack a deck full of regalia. Sure you can, but this opens up so many other deck building options with her. And I really like this deck as starting off into seeing what other options that there are. The other thing I really love about this deck is you're very often doing the Prisya God Art, which makes you search all 4 Sacred Beasts, which I'll get into in a minute. Then you can do the Rizard God Art, because you're banishing a bunch of guys to your graveyard and clearing the board and then making them discard a bunch of cards. There's a lot that this deck actually does, and it's very, very surprising. And I really enjoyed getting to use the different God Arts in it, so you could see the true power of having this more... It's not an OTK, but it's a very grindy and very God Art focused build. Again, Shadow Barrier is always going to be a downfall of this deck, but that's why we're running some colors that can definitely deal with those answers, and I would really like to see some of those main deck in future versions. We only changed a few cards, and there are more things that I'd probably change going forward, but didn't quite have the time to test those. So going into the stone base, we have 2 Gusting Skies, and it's worth knowing that we are running Gretel, so we are running all Windstones because that is one of the main accelerants in the deck. And we want to make sure that we're always going to be putting a stone into play off Gretel, making sure it never hits, because that would lose a significant amount of tempo for this deck. So, Gusting Skies, it's mostly in there just as the 2 filler. You know, it does help with the, excuse me, the Faria God Art, the Arla God Art. It's another light source that we need for those. Now, those are very, you know, we're not, more often now, we're not caring about those God Arts, we're not using them. But this is a stone that we do want to see, and it's maybe something that there are going to be some games, some number of games where you're going to want to do this. So we put 2 of those in instead of, say, 2 of the Blasting Waves from Magus God Art, but, you know, that's really going to be up to you and what situations you think are better. 4 Magic Stones of Black Silence. Again, this is mostly the Rizard God Art. In the amount of games I've playtested with this, being able to resolve Rizard's God Art, and you need 2 Dark for, which can be difficult for this deck at times if you don't see any of these, feels very, very good. And then, of course, you're swinging through for all this damage for free. So I would absolutely run 4 of Black Silence. And then, as I'll go into a little bit, you saw Cheshire Cats, you saw Heras. There might be a few sendbacks out of the sideboard, you know, what have you. And then lastly for the stones is 4 of Deep Woods. That lets us cast all those cards that we just mentioned. It's a Windstone for Gretel. Lets us play Cheshire, so easy peasy, auto-include. Going into our regalia, we played 2 of Marybell. Again, don't really need to see a lot of this, so 2 is probably fine. With the reduction, you really only need 1 to save yourself from, say, a Flames out of the Outer World or something of that nature, so I think 2 of these is fine. Up next, we have 3 Deathscythes, which for Rizard's God Art, you know, it helps reduce the cost further. But also lets us steal their creatures. So Valentina, when she becomes Rizard as part of the name, whenever she deals damage to something, if it goes to the graveyard that turn, you get to steal it. So if they try to block with some big beefy dude, or even if they have to block with, let's say, Gareth, you then get to steal their Gareth. So you're creating this incremental advantages over the course of the game, which is just going to bury your opponent in pure card advantage. And then, of course, lastly, I couldn't imagine a deck without it. The Regalia that just does everything. Probably should have been printed, cough, cough. 4 of Demon Sword, reduces the God Arts, gives you Imperishable, gives you Swiftness. This card should just be a 4 of in every Valentina brew that's coming across, you know. Some people run Excalibur, which gives you the target attack and God Arts reduction, but Demon Sword is the best Regalia for this deck. And, you know, before the Reflector Rada, Orb was probably the best, but I think Leviathan is definitely jumping back up in playability, and I think we're going to see this card a lot more. Orb is still very, very much playable, don't get me wrong, but Demon Sword is definitely looking pretty good right about now. So going into the 1-drops, we of course have Cats on Cats on Cats, so 4 Cheshire Cats. Can't be targeted, free blocker, goes back into your deck, lets you shuffle the deck. If you don't like the top card, you can banish it off Demon Sword, get an extra 200 damage in, and shuffle it back in. And it's just pure draw power for the deck. And again, if you're playing Adombroli, then we get to banish it later and draw an extra card. We said cats, we got more cats. Familiar of Holy Wind is another great 1-drop for the deck. The ping ability isn't really... It's helped like 1 or 2 times, but I guess it's there, so it's not completely irrelevant. But the fact that it cycles itself, it's a body for, again, Adombroli. It's a body in the graveyard for Wizard's Godart later on. It definitely does a lot for you. And then because this is a will focused deck in terms of accelerating your game plan, turn 1 Elvish Priest into hopefully turn 2 Fiethsing really unlocks your colors for you and really lets you play this accelerated game that's going to let you, tutor up multiple Regalia per turn if necessary. And this is probably the best 1-drop you can be doing for the deck. Next we have our 2-drops. The one card that we change, and we might be taking back out something that we just need to test more for how popular it is. 3 Hera. If you're seeing a rival Deathscythe, you definitely want to blow that up. Yes, they're going to get it back, but if you're going to Judgment that turn, and trust me, you have enough will in this deck to play a Hera and Judgment in the same turn. You can kill a Deathscythe, grant your Swiftness back, attack with Valentina, probably steal something of theirs as well, and then don't forget in all of that, Hera let you draw another card off that, and plus she also draws another card when you banish her for Adombroli's effect. Lastly, probably the MVP of the deck for at least the creature base outside of Adombroli. Adombroli is definitely the best card in this deck, hands down, but outside of that is probably Gretel. I know it's probably a lot closer than people are thinking, but the things that you can do with Adombroli are just insane in this deck and absolutely broken. For Gretel, it's always going to put an extra stone into play. You always want to see it. If you can even do like turn 1 Priest into turn 2 Gretel, that's something that's going to really help you out a lot too. So there's a lot of good things that Gretel is doing for this deck. Then finally, before the tech cards of the deck, we have our 3-drops for Adombroli. This is just a card that's been popping up everywhere. I want to do another deck spotlight on the other video. We nicknamed the deck I Don't Even Have to Attack. It was playing like Rasputins, Adombrolis, things like that, and a bunch of Thunders. Adombroli is getting a lot of use lately, and I think especially after the Reflectorata where they can't pump Lancelot on their turn, suddenly people are going to find out and realize that this can kill their opposing Lancelots and survive the attack because Reflect can no longer save it. Yes, it doesn't help you as much on blocking per se, but having that 800 defense is very, very, very relevant. So this card has been absolutely fantastic. And again, most of the time what we're doing in this deck anyways is accelerating a will. So you're banishing a wind attribute Resonator, and you're banishing something blue so you get to draw a card. Then last but not least, we have 4 of Fiethsings. Card is just great. You want to play it on turn 2 if you don't have those other lines of play as we were discussing. It fixes your will colors, which you really, really do need. Again, the Wizard Godart, or if you want to do Arla, is very intensive, that you need to have those specific colors at the exact right time. And this is one of the ways you can do it, if not banishing Adombroli to produce at least one of those will attributes you need. I've had to do that to produce the extra dark. Yes, it won me that game, but it still does feel bad to have to do that if somehow your opponent can come back from it. Again, if you're using Wizard's Godart, they probably can't. And last but not least, but my favorite part of this deck, more often than not that you're going to be playing Pristia's Godart. So I'll have all 4 Sacred Beasts, and then Bounce Turtle there, just slightly off. Rest in peace, Bounce Turtle. So what's really great about this isn't just having all those one-ofs. You can shuffle it back with Cheshire Cat, so that's not an issue. But with Pristia's Godart, you're getting a lot of value on the field. So With Priscia's Godart and Demon Sword, you have that cost reduction, so it's very easy to get all 4 of these early. So this guy comes into play. He has target attack, but he gains 200 life for every other Sacred Beast, and it's worth noting that they all see each other at the same time. So for a very low will cost, you're going to gain 800 life, bounce something, burn something, draw a card. And it's also worth noting that these are very relevant bodies as well. So you get this guy, gain a bunch of life. You have Qinlong, which lets you draw a card if you have another Sacred Beast, which you do, and then he pumps the rest of your team. Xuan Yu, which is the bounce turtle, dirtle turtle, whatever you want to call him. He bounces one of your opponent's resonators back to their hand, so it's tempo swing that's generated by him. And then lastly, cannot ever say his name, so just Fire Chicken. He's going to burn one of your opponent's resonators for 800. So you can see very quickly by Godarting with Priscia, you're going to have this huge life total. 800 point life swing, kill one of their guys, bounce one of the guys, draw a card. There's a lot of advantage that can be gained by doing this and by playing this more green-focused build for Priscia Godart and having all the other Godarts in play. So I think that this is a deck that you guys should really check out when you get the chance. There's definitely going to be some more changes to it. There were some wind sprites originally to help with Arla's Godart, so you could access that easier. I know some people were talking about adding Holy Wolf's Mane to beat the barrier decks. There is a lot of room for this deck, and it has a very interesting core. So, hope you guys like this deck spotlight. I hope you'll try it out in your locals coming up this week. Again, it's an absolute blast to play in a completely different take on Valentina 2.0, so we've really, really enjoyed playing it. So, if you guys liked the video, make sure to give us a like, drop a comment in the section below, or again, don't forget to subscribe for more future content. We're going to keep bringing you guys deck spotlights and versus videos in the future. So, hope you guys really liked it. Again, hope you will try this at your locals, and we'll catch you on the next Force of Will deck spotlight. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, make sure to hit subscribe or check out one of our other video series. And don't forget to stop by the Force of Will US website for articles, a helpful database, and more.